All right, welcome to episode 26. So, on the note of classes, we're going to talk about inheritance. And what inheritance does is it allows us to define a class that inherits all of the methods and properties from another class. So, the best way I can kind of just describe this in my mind, how I think of it, is if you had like a player character in a video game, and then the player character could select like warrior, rogue, whatever, right? It's going to have all of the traits of the player character class plus the individual classes like warrior, rogue. So you'll have a parent class, and that's the class that's being inherited from. Sometimes this is also referred to as a base class, so parent or base class, and then you'll have a child class. And this is the class that inherits from another class, and then sometimes it's also referred to as derived class. I personally prefer the parent-child syntax because it's really easy to pick up. So just really quick, we'll just comment out here just so it makes sense if you're taking notes. And we'll have a parent or base class. So we'll build our class really quick, just like we did in the last video. We'll have a person here, and remember we do our dunder init as our first thing. And in here we're going to pass in self. We'll just do name and age, just like we did before. We'll have self.name equals name, self.age equals age, not equal minus, and then we'll just make another greeting function here. We'll pass in the self, and we'll just print out that right there. So we have this blueprint to build our class. So now we can just make person1 again, excuse me, and they will equal person, and we'll pass in Bob again, and Bob can be 21 again. And then if you remember that, we can do this, just print p1 dot greeting here, or sorry, I don't need to print that, p1 dot greeting, and execute. Start our terminal. And you see that we execute that function, and Bob says, hello, I am Bob. Now we can create a child class here. So we'll do child class, derived class here. So we'll use that pass keyword here, and we'll just call this class kid. And this kid will inherit from the person class. And we'll just pass here so that we're not creating anything new currently. So now we can make our kid1 object. Our kid1 object will equal the kid class, which, by the way, I should capitalize that. Always capitalize your classes. And then we'll pass in the properties that we want for name and age into kid. Even though kid doesn't have name and age, it will inherit it from the person class, which should actually be the parent, but that's okay. And we'll just call this mini Bob, and mini Bob can be the opposite of Bob and be 12. And then you can see that we can do k1 dot greeting, save, and let's just comment that one out for now. Run that, and you see, hello, I am mini Bob. So even though we just made an object from this kid class, that object inherited everything because we passed in the parent class of person. So it came up here, it saw that we passed mini Bob and 12 in, it applied mini Bob and 12 here, and applied it to the object that we made from the kid class. So that's inheritance in the most basic demonstration so far. So one thing to keep in mind here is if we do our own init function in this child class, this is actually going to override the parent function. So we'll just do name and color here, and then we'll rebuild self.name equals name and self.color equals color. I guess I should probably name that fave color, just so it's a little bit less confusing. There we go. So if we have something like this and we try to pass it in again, you'll see, and we run it, we're getting this issue here. So I'm having a syntax error also because I didn't do that. But you'll see that we're still getting hello, I'm Mini Bob because it still has the greeting from the parent class. But if we do something like print and we do K1 age is the one that we got rid of, you see that we have an error. Kid object has no attribute age because even though it initiated it up here, this one's overriding it. So it will have a favorite color and it will still have a name. So if we save and run, now you see that its favorite color is 12, which makes no sense, but that's what we passed in. So now the favorite color of the kid is red, and they still have this greeting function from up here. Now, one thing you can do is you can actually make a call to the parents init function, and you can add that call to the parents init function like so. So you would do your init here, and then we'll just get rid of this. And then you could have your person dot dunder init dunder so you can have this stuff, and then this we could have age or whatever match. And now you see if we go back to what we were doing before and we pass back in the integer, so it makes more sense. Execute, we're getting what we got before. We're printing off the kid age again, and it's saying hello, I'm Mini Bob. We still have access to that greeting. So now we've added the init function from and kept the inheritance of the parent class, and we're ready to add functionality in the init function. So one other thing you can do is the super function. So instead of person here, you could do super like this. And if we do this, we don't actually need self. We can just do name and age like this. And you see that it still works. So we can get rid of self. We're just executing this function super, and it will make the child class inherit all the methods and properties from its parent, which is it's understanding which parent it is because we're passing it in here. So just make sure you're passing in the parent class that you want it to inherit from here, and then you can use that super function. Now if we want to add properties, independent properties to this child class so that we actually have something different, we can do something like self dot, and we'll do fave color again, and we'll set it to red. And then we can print here. And you can see that we're accessing that red variable. And again, remember you can change it to, we can do fave color equals blue, save, and we have access to it. So we're updating it there as well. So that's one way you can add all of these properties under a child class and then still modify them outside of that class if you need to. Now, if you're wondering if we could just get rid of this age here or something like that, just know that that's what it's using here with the parent class. So if we were to delete age, see how it goes white and has an underscore, and then if we try to run it, we're going to run into errors. So it's looking for 2 positional arguments, but 3 were given. So that's what it's saying. So if we just undo that, run it, it's still working, but just be aware of that. So one other thing we can do, if we don't want to just hard code in this red and modify it outside of the class, we're actually able to put it here in the child class up here in their init, the first init here, and you see that we don't have anything, so we can just take this fave color and override red here, right? And then it's important that we pass that in when we construct it. So when we do the kid Mini Bob 12, we need to pass in a fave color of red, and we'll just comment this out to show that we're not modifying it outside of the object itself. We print and we get 12 hello, I am Mini Bob and red. So it is passing it in to the child and giving us the output that we want as well. You can also have methods or functions in the child class which again, just thinking of kind of like an RPG game and stuff, you would have different abilities under different classes. Right, so we could have here, we'll just call this color, we'll pass in that self, use the colon, and then we'll just have it print my favorite color is, and then we'll add fave color in here. Remember, do self.favecolor here, and then we can do the k1.color and execute that as well. And we'll just go ahead and comment that out for now, save, print, and you see that we're getting both of those functions. So this function's from the parent, and then this function is from the child. One important thing to note is that if we name them the same thing, so if we change this here to greeting and save it, and we'll just comment this out since we got rid of the color, save and run it, you see that it's the child function that it's actually calling. So it overrides the parent function, just like the init. So anything that is in the child that's named the same as the parent class will override the parent. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're building these. This is why it's important to name your functions something unique and specific to the class. And that wraps us up on the intro to Python inheritance. Again, if you want more practice, more exercises, you can mess around on your own or go to w3schools.com and try theirs out. If you like these videos, please like, subscribe, or do anything. I appreciate it. And comment any questions you have.